So what is a unit test in general? When we write a code, we need to test in some way. Of course, there are many ways to test, but unit test is the very first step. We are testers of our own code. And how do we understand unit? We can imagine a class, and we can think of it as a piece of our code. And probably we all know what pessimist thinks about this class. So pessimist thinks that the class is half empty, and we know what optimist thinks. For him or her, glass is half full. But there is a saying that for the good tester, the glass is twice as big as it needs to be. So now, how to understand this? If we look at our code, a combination of many glasses, which is half full or half empty, and we look into the details, then this empty part can be seen as a single unit, or empty half can be seen as another unit. The idea is not to test the software as a whole, but its small pieces, single functionality. So, do we really need unit tests? So if we are careful and we write our code carefully, why should we write unit tests? Well, we should, because when our code base grows, we don't know if it's still working, or if we change something in one part of the software, how does it affect other parts? Will it break anything? This is why we need unit tests. But as always, we are in a hurry, but that should not be the excuse. So we should still test it during development, and this is what test-driven development is called. So how to get started with writing unit tests? So we should start writing with unit tests before we write a piece of our code. First unit test followed by our code. Well, we can say a few seconds ahead. Why should we do so? Because if we write unit tests before we write the code, we know what we should expect, what we are implementing. Well, we have busy days, but if we don't follow this principle, what will happen is this. We will have a code, and we will not know, is our code really great, or is it that we have not tested it properly? So therefore, unit tests are as important as production code. So we should not treat unit tests as secondary. So it's worth to think about its design and take care of a good unit test. However, some might think that isn't it better to write unit tests quickly and make it quick and dirty? Isn't it better than not to have at all? But no, it's not better. because we will accumulate garbage while writing dirty unit tests. And in the end, we will have lots of inaccuracies and non-functional tests and probably non-functional production code, which will be prone to lots of bugs. And after some time, we will figure out that our code is not even testable. So, is it a good idea to write unit tests after our code is written? Well, it's not a good idea, because when we are writing unit tests together with the production code, we can also think how production code can be written in a way so that it's testable. Otherwise, we might write production code which we cannot even test. So these are the 3 rules to follow, which practically summarizes what we talked about. So we should not write production code until we have a unit test which can fail the production code. And we should not write too many unit tests at once, just single small functionality and corresponding code. And we should not run ahead in writing the production code either. We should not write too much code and then unit tests again. Well, what does clean unit test mean? It means timely, as we said, written just immediately before the production code. It must be simple, so that we understand what is being tested. It should be readable for another developer or for ourselves, and concise, so that it does include testing. Now let's go to the practical examples, but before seeing how clean unit tests look like, let's see how unclean unit tests look like. So this is one of the examples from the Clean Code book. And if we look closely, let's check what is wrong with this code. This is a test. Can we immediately understand what is being tested? At least I cannot. So here we have 3 repeated calls. And here too. We have too many details. And too many details and repeated calls make the unit test unreadable. We get lost into unnecessary information. So let's see if we can improve. Here, if we use just a single function instead of repeated calls, we can reduce 3 lines to 1. Here too, we can wrap all this into another function, and the same here. Now, what happened here is that here we prepare the data. Here we act on that data, and here we are checking. So this is how we cleaned up the first example. It's so much easier to read what's going on here. One note about this improved example is that it's always better to have one assert per test, so that we check one smallest functionality per test. However, if we needed each assert to be separately, then we would need to duplicate this example. So everything would be the same, but first with assert response is XML, and then the same code with assert response contains. And as we saw, duplicates are not nice, and it's not a good practice. So it's okay to have more than one assert, but they should serve anyway one functionality. The idea is to have minimum asserts. Well, let's see another example. This is another test which switches on heater, blower, and temperature alarm if the temperature is way too cold. So this true says that heater will be switched on, blower will be switched on, and temperature will be switched on. But this is not clean either. For example, what is this tick here? Nothing tells about it, where it's coming from or what is it doing. So we should avoid unclear contents. And again, playing with true and false asserts. And again, we can get rid of this strange tick and hide inside the function. And we can implement another function which will deal with switching on or off. And we will result in just 3 lines. The main idea again is that the unit test should be readable. Why should it be readable? Because when we run unit tests and we get some error, we see the failing test, we should easily understand what failed and why. Because that's the point of the unit tests. That's why readability in unit tests is more important than, for example, efficiency. In production, code efficiency might be crucial, but not in unit tests. It's better to be readable. And this is how all those asserts were implemented in an external function. So these capital letters mean turning on, and these lower case letters mean just turning off. So this is an example how we can hide extra functionality in functions, but avoid displaying details in the unit test. And in the end, let us keep the first principle in mind. if for fast, we need a unit test to run frequently, practically after any small increment, to make sure that we have not broken our code. So we need to run it frequently, therefore it should run fast. Independent unit tests inside test suite should be independent, so that we can run in any order we like, and if one unit test is prone to failure, another test does not inherit this failure from the previous test. Otherwise, we will have difficulty finding out where is the code failing. Repeatable. We should be able to run unit tests anywhere. For example, if we are developing software for the customer and we test on our laptop, we should be able to run those tests at the customer side or in the quality assurance environment, anywhere. A unit test should be runnable in any environment. Self-validating. So from the test, we should only get, is it passing, is it failing? In other words, is assert true or false? Because we need clear statements. And timely. So we should not postpone writing unit tests, no matter how busy we are, because it's worth investing in time. It will save us a lot of time later. And if we don't let our unit tests rot, then our production will not rot either. You can read more about unit tests in the Clean Code book and references therein. Yeah, and of course, lots of other resources online. This is it. Thank you very much.
Any questions?